Now it's time for a business spotlight. This is the Adelaide Project.
Hello and welcome to the Adelaide Project Business Spotlight, brought to you by podcastcity.com.au. If you're looking for a way to engage your audience with your amazing content, then you need to talk to them about producing, recording, editing, videoing, and distributing your very own podcast. Just go to podcastcity.com.au. I'm Ron Fiedler and welcome to the Adelaide Project Business Spotlight. If you run a business, whether it be a small office, a retail outlet, or a medium to a large corporation, you're going to need legal advice or engage the services of a solicitor from time to time. Whether you are signing a commercial lease, applying for a mortgage to buy a site, or advice on commercial contracts, even litigation or disputes, you need to partner with someone that you can trust, a law firm that is not judgmental, and someone who will listen to your needs and concerns. And of course, puts your best interests first so that you get the best outcome for you. Today on the podcast, we're going to be speaking with a law firm that generally cares about its customers and clients and understands that legal matters can be stressful and intimidating. A law firm that believes that communication is king and will keep you informed on all matters through regular contact with clear expectations and professional legal advice. A firm that generally cares about its community as well as being involved with many different community organisations. To find out more on how this family law firm can help you and your business, I welcome to the Adelaide Project Business Spotlight Director of Roach Corporate Law, Melanie Bird. Melanie, welcome to the program.
Hi, Ron. Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in. Melanie, I've been doing some research regarding Roach Corporate Law. It seems to be a great opportunity for businesses who are looking to partner with a law firm that offers a caring, safe environment and is free of judgment. Could you let our listeners know a little bit more about yourself, your firm, and what you specialise in?
Sure. A little bit about myself. I have been practicing in law for over 20 years now. I started out practicing in Adelaide as a junior lawyer and then moved over to Melbourne. Got a couple of opportunities over there to work in some firms, larger firms over in Melbourne. And then an opportunity came up for me with one of the firms that I was working in at Melbourne to go and set up a Brisbane office.
Great.
So, yes, I was very lucky. I had nothing tying me to Melbourne at the time, and I didn't know anyone in Brisbane, but I thought it would be a great opportunity and a challenge for me. And I was up for the challenge, and so I moved, set up the office in Brisbane, something I hadn't obviously done before, and that was great. I stayed there for about a year and a half before home was calling me, I suppose. My heart has always been in Adelaide, and I decided to move back to Adelaide to my roots. So got a job in one of the firms in the city, became partner of that firm, and moved to another firm in the city for about 5 or 6 years after that. And then decided that an opportunity came up for a firm in Mclaren Vale, which is a small family-run boutique type firm.
Yes. For our listeners, Mclaren Vale is on the south side.
It is,
and it's sort of a bit of a country, but also it has a lot of vineyards and wineries there as well.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful out there. And, I mean, I actually grew up in the south.
Oh, yes.
But I don't live down south. I sort of live in towards the eastern side, but I just thought this would be a good opportunity for me. I thought, well, I'd been working in the city for so many years and maybe a sea change would be good for me. And it was great. It was a really good opportunity to go out there. And I think for me, when I first moved to Roach, I was so pleasantly surprised by the amount of work that was actually down that way and the calibre of work that was actually down there. I think that when you work in the city firms, everyone just assumes that, everyone goes to the city for their legal advice, but it's not actually the case.
Yeah, I suppose if you're living in an area, especially, if it's a bit rural, you want to stick to people that know your area. Melanie, what sort of clients would you get down there? Would it be mainly the wineries or tourism or...?
We have a couple of wineries. We have a bit of tourism, but it's mainly our clientele is the small to medium enterprises and businesses,
Yeah.
like your mum and dad type businesses, individuals, and just in that small space. I think when you're going up for like the larger type corporations, they're probably going to be more suited to one of the larger, bigger firms. But it's more that small to medium type business enterprise space that we work in. And you're right, Ron, Mclaren Vale is very colloquial. I think Adelaide is in general, but Mclaren Vale is very, very tight-knit community.
Yes.
And I certainly found that working down there, it does have that loyalty and, community feel to it, that then the people down there are much more inclined to want to visit a local law firm rather than probably travel into the city.
Definitely. We're going to talk about your community involvement very soon. Melanie, you said that you worked interstate. What is the difference really between, say, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane when it comes to working in law? Is there much of a difference? Is it all same?
I did find a difference, I have to say. I think that working in Melbourne and Brisbane probably seemed a little bit more ruthless and cutthroat to me rather than the Adelaide feel.
Yeah.
We tend to have that little bit more laid back type of approach. Not to say that when we can't be or are not aggressive in our approaches or styles when we need to be, but there just seems to be a bit more of that personable feel here, I felt.
Would you say they're more understanding here, more open to suggestion of different mediations?
I think so. I think, not taking anything away from Melbourne or Brisbane or the other states, because I did enjoy practicing there, but I definitely enjoy practicing more in Adelaide, mainly because I think it does have that, home community type feel.
Yeah,
throughout.
The old Adelaide thing, like where you go to school, who you hang out, what side do you live on? Adelaide's very unique in that sense.
Yes, yeah.
So why law? What was your passion in getting into law?
I know it sounds so cliche, but I really wanted to help people. And when I say I wanted to help people, I have a very strong sense of justice and what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very passionate about that. And I tend to, and I even, found myself doing this in school, I always wanted to be an advocate for the underdog.
Yeah.
If I saw anyone being bullied, I was always the first to get in there and stop it and say no. Great. So as much as it is very cliche, it is the reason that I did get into doing what I do. And throughout my career, I've had moments where I'm like, is this for me? And I keep coming back, yes, it is for me. I love what I do. I love being a lawyer. For me, my clients are not just a billable hour for me.
Yeah.
I really genuinely care about my clients and I genuinely want to get the right outcome for them and give them the advice that they need. And I want to do that in a way that they feel that someone is genuinely listening to them, not judging them for what has happened, and can assist them in getting out of the situation they're in the best, most cost-effective way.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that you say that about not being judgmental, because a lot of times when you have a client come, I presume, you don't know the situation until you get the full story. So by saying straight away and judging them, it may turn out to be something completely different.
That's right. And I think the non-judgmental comes in to, when you have a client that comes and sees you, it's daunting already seeing a lawyer.
Yes.
No one would want to be in that situation. They don't want to be there. And so as a lawyer, you have to build their trust, because if you don't build trust and you don't have that with them, that rapport with them, they're not going to be open with you.
Yeah.
And they need to have that trust to be able to unravel the story with you,
yes,
rightly or wrongly, so that you can give them the best possible advice. And you can have the cliche of the lawyers, and people say, lawyers, and they're all stuck up and they're snobs and all of that sort of thing. But I don't work like that. I don't practice like that. I don't want to ever be like that or work for firms that are like that. And I haven't worked for firms that are like that, because everyone has a place in the world and everyone is the same. We're all equal. No one's better than anyone else. And
totally agree.
That's just how I want to practice.
Totally agree. You really hit the nail on the head, and that is that we're all the same. We're just doing different things in life.
That's right.
And that's the way we've got to look at it. Question for you, when you do have a client come to you, how important is it for them to tell you the whole truth? You got client privilege, I take it?
Yes.
So how important is it for them to tell you the whole story?
It's very important. I mean, it's vital. And I think the thing is, a lot of the time you won't get the full story. Sometimes you won't get the full story until, maybe a couple of months down the track or that sort of thing. But it is very, very vital that we get that information and that truth up front. And the reason that it is so vital is because our advice will be based on the information and the instructions that we're being given by that client. So if that changes down the track and we find out a piece of information that we haven't known 6 months before, that completely changes our advice. And then that's going to cost more money, or it could mean another plan of attack, or it could, there's a lot of ramifications around it. So it is very important to get the full story up front. A lot of clients, and like you say, Ron, the clients are protected by legal professional privilege, but they still feel, some of them, a little bit hesitant when they come in to see a lawyer about giving over that information or providing the truth, whether that be because they feel they're going to be judged, or maybe they're embarrassed to be in that situation, or whatever it is. And that's where I feel it's my job to give them that reassurance that I'm not there to judge them. Like, that's not my role. My role is to do the best I possibly can for them to get them out of the situation they're in.
And it's very important. And that's the thing about Roach Corporate Law, is that you say you don't judge. And that's the main thing. You're not there to judge them. You're there to listen, be caring, understanding, and then come up with a plan of attack and advise them for what their next move is.
Yes, that's right. And for me personally, and throughout my career, and what I want Roach Corporate Law to be seen as, is communication is extremely important. I think it's important in every aspect of life, none more so than when you are dealing with clients.
Yes.
And that's for any area, any career base, anything. And I think one of the things that clients lack or don't like about lawyers is communication. And I think that's a big thing, that they don't feel that they're being communicated with. I am very communicative with my clients because I know how I would want to be treated and communicated with. And so I ensure that I communicate with the clients as regularly as I can.
So when you communicate with your clients, is it mainly telephone, email, text? How do you communicate?
It can be a mixture. It can be email, it can be text, it can be phone. It's mainly email, but, I get a feel for the clients who feel more comfortable by email, clients that might feel a bit more comfortable with a phone call. I get a feel for that, and then kind of it sort of dovetails from there as to which communication style I'll use.
Yeah. And I also suppose, being legal, sometimes it has to be in an email because of a trail, so therefore you got the paper trail.
That's right. Sometimes I'll want to make sure that something's in writing, or there's an advice that, a client may want in writing, so I ensure that that's done in writing as well. But, in this day and age with electronics, the clients have got my mobile, and if they need to text me, and the clients are very good. Like, they won't take advantage. A lot of them don't take it. They won't take it, but they won't message me late at night or things like that. So,
well, that's good. That's good. And that's the two-way street. You're a caring practice, and you've got your clients that care about you as well, and it's a win-win situation.
Yes. One of the things that I also have really driven into our junior lawyers is this level of communication.
Yes.
And you can see, in our value system, if you look on our website, it's that getting back to the clients. So I say, between 24 to 48 hours, I personally will get back to a client every day. If I don't get back to someone, I'll make sure that my office manager contacts them, or someone else contacts them to say, look, I'm in court, or I'm stuck in this, or I'm stuck in that, and I will call them tomorrow. I won't ever leave a client hanging.
Oh, that's good to know. So if you're looking at a law firm that's actually going to return your call, then Roach Corporate Law will do that. And for 24 to 40 hours, that's pretty good. Pretty good, especially in today's world where sometimes I'm waiting up to a week just to get a response from someone on an email. Yes,
I think it's important though, and I think that it's again about being empathetic and putting yourself in the client's shoes, that, for them, this matter that they're dealing with is consuming their whole world, their whole being. And if I don't get back to this person within, a week or 2 weeks,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That is a big deal. And I think also to build that level of trust with the clients, that's where the communication comes in.
Yep.
So, I'll always say to the lawyers in the office, even if you cannot get back to the client, even if you just write a very quick, I've got your email, thanks.
Acknowledge it.
I'll get back to you the next couple of days, or that's all it takes. As long as they know that they're on your radar.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, just acknowledgement to know, at least they've got it. I don't have to worry about it. I know there might be a couple of days, but I know they got it. Melanie, when do you think we know, and this could be how long's a piece of string, but when do you know you need to contact a solicitor? When do you use a solicitor? When does a matter get to a point? It's a hard question to answer, I know, but when does it get to a point that I need to get the law involved here?
Sure. So I think there's so many areas of law. Obviously, at Roach Corporate Law, we deal strictly in commercial and in corporate. So we've got two arms of our business, which is the strictly commercial transactional side of the business, and then the commercial litigation disputes type matters. They're the matters that I deal in mostly. And those types of matters, you'll know when you're in a dispute, like you'll just know there'll be a contractual issue or there'll be a debt recovery or something. You'll just know that you're in it and you'll need to see a lawyer.
Yeah.
On the commercial side of things, I think what we do find a lot is that the small to medium enterprise type businesses often don't tend to look at their suite of documents around their business. So, for example, like your employment contracts, your terms and conditions, all of those sorts of things that as a business are going to protect you. What we find is when we're dealing with a lot of these small, medium type businesses, they're not checking on those types of contracts that they would need to assist them.
Do you think too many of them are Googling these things and just taking them off Google?
I think so, possibly. Some we find don't have any.
Wow.
Some, they're very, very, restrictive. But I think that if there's one takeaway I think that I can say is that those small to medium type businesses or the individual mum and dad businesses do really look at the way that they can protect themselves in that business, which is by your employment contracts and your terms and conditions. And, you might have a partnership agreement, shareholder agreements, all of those sorts of things that ultimately will protect you. And I think that a lot of people get into business and they bypass all of that, which can be detrimental.
I mean, even here in our business, it's my wife and I running it, but we have a partnership agreement.
Yeah.
And the reason we have that is simply that if something happens down the track, we know exactly what's going to happen. And if one of us passes away, we know what happens then. It doesn't go into a dispute with maybe children or from previous marriages or mum or dad, especially if they're young. So it's very important to have those. And that's great advice you're giving there, Melanie. I might get into your fee structure. When it comes to a law firm, how do your fees work? Are they a fixed cost? Are they upfront payments? How does that work?
So we can do fixed costing work and quoting work. It's a mixture.
Yeah.
So as for requiring payment up front, not necessarily. Sometimes we may ask for monies in trust if it's a new client, if the matter might be going to a trial or there's a barrister that might be involved, we might ask for payment up front. But generally speaking, we won't ask for the payment up front.
Yeah.
I think our fee structure, I think, is quite competitive with the market at the moment. And like I said, we will fixed cost if we need to. And we also do help people out if they are financially struggling, and we do have some clients that are on payment arrangements as well. So we have a mixed bag, and we do try to mould ourselves into assisting the client and where they're financially sitting.
And that's where that care comes in that you talk about. Let's look at that care. Now, Melanie, your law firm is based and really involved with your community. Can you let our listeners know more about that, the community involvement with your law firm?
Sure. So Roach Corporate Law actually was set up by Daniel Roach and Samantha Roach, who Daniel Roach actually passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that.
So it was a bit of a hard time for us as a business, but we've got back on our feet. But Daniel was very passionate about the community in the southern community, and so we have ensured that we have continued on that legacy in the community. So we're a corporate member of Rotary. C in our office is on the board, and events and the like. So players are also involved in the Southern United Netball Association, or on the board there. We also can be a drop-off point at times for and accessories and things for domestic violence victims.
That's great. Yeah, so if people want to drop off toiletries, etc. like that, you can pass them on.
Yes, we have a box in the office that we have, and we'll just give that out when we need to. So yeah, we're very passionate about giving back to the community as well. We're members of the Mclaren Vale Tourism Association, and we are heavily involved in there as well. So that community feel and vibe will always stay with us that has come through from Daniel Roach.
Now, what about non-profit organisations? There's a lot down there at Mclaren Vale. If they're looking to find someone, you would help out a non-profit as well, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. We have a couple of not-for-profits on board, and obviously we're always happy to help in that arena as well.
Wow.
I personally also on the legal advisory service of the Law Society, which gives out volunteer work. So it's volunteer free legal advice that I sit on once every couple of months. Mm-hmm. So, I've said to our lawyers as well, let's get out there. It's also about giving back. We've got, we've been trained in this area. So let's try and give back to those people that need it.
You're changing the concept of what I think of as a law firm and a solicitor does. I mean, it's so great to be involved in the community and give back like that. People think of, the old jokes of lawyers, how many what's the best thing about a lawyer at the bottom of the sea? It's a good start. All those horrible jokes, but this is really changing it, and it's community focus. And it's also there to help the client, not judgmental, caring, understanding, communication. It's just great what you're doing down there with Roach Corporate Law.
Thank you. I'm really passionate about that side of things and communication and being empathetic and non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Like that's, one of the reasons that I did, like I said, get into the law. Is because of that very reason. And I don't want to have that stuffy type feel. I want it's hard enough, as I've said, for a person to come in to that sort of, and it can be daunting. The legal process is daunting. So to have someone that, can collaborate with you and partner with you rather than kind of drag you through the process, I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree there. If anything that can take the stress of something that we probably are not going to do a lot in our lifetime is great. And that's what you do. Look, Melanie, you've probably already answered this, but I'll put the question to you. What makes you different? There are a lot of commercial law firms out there, and the majority of them have good reputations. What would you say sets your services apart from the rest?
I mean, I would say, again, it comes back to that empathetic, caring feel. I know for myself, I genuinely care about my clients, and they're not just a number to me. They're not just a billable hour. And it is important for me and to me to have those types of relationships with my clients. Some of them have become, friends of mine now. I know them personally. For me to be able to do my job, I need to be able to connect on that level with people. And I find that when I'm doing that, it builds a level of trust with that client and they feel comfortable. I started a Masters of Social Work actually about 10 years ago now, doing that part-time, mainly to sort of enhance my skills in this area and to drive those empathetic sort of values in me and compassion and all of that sort of thing. So I'd like to say that definitely sets myself and also Roach Corporate Law apart from
the rest. That is great to know that you're doing that because it gives you that other side of understanding people. Instead of just looking at them, as you said, a number, just as a piece of paper with a name on it. That is so great to hear that, Melanie.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. And I think like you say, it's true. I mean, I think a lot of clients, they look at lawyers and they say, oh, all you want to do is bill and you just that's all you care about. And I don't want to be like that. Obviously, we do have our chargings and all of that sort of thing.
Of course, you've got to keep the doors open.
That's right. But having said that, you can also make someone feel like they're not just
a number.
That's right. A dollar sign too.
That is so great to hear, a law firm with a difference. And I encourage all of our listeners, we don't ever give out legal advice, and this is not legal advice, but contact them and see if they're right for you. Melanie, if our listeners want to contact Roach Corporate Law to engage your services or if they need advice about what their situation is, what's the best way they can go about contacting you?
Sure. Well, we have a website, which is actually we've just had a brand new website in the last year and I'm pretty proud of it. So
it looks good. I must admit, I went and had a look I went all through it. It looks very good.
So that's www.roachcorporatelaw.com. And our details are on there, but I'm always available by email or by telephone. The one thing for us as well, you can contact us and speak to a lawyer for 10, 15 minutes about your situation and we won't charge you for that.
Wow,
so I
great.
often will have those conversations and sometimes I can just resolve it there and then or, refer to who I think needs to be referred to. So getting back to that's my email mbird@roachcorporatelaw.com or our office number, which is 81861735.
And we will have all those contact information on our social media pages and also in the show note. Just remember that www.roachcorporatelaw.com. .com, not .au, so remember that .com. Melanie, thank you so much for talking with us today to let our listeners know more about Roach Corporate Law and how you may be able to assist our listeners with their legal needs.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate this opportunity and I've been so happy to be here.
It's been great to have you here and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today on the Adelaide Project Business Spotlight podcast and radio show, we have been speaking with Melanie Bird from Roach Corporate Law, a law firm that puts their clients first by not judging them, but by supporting them so that they can get the best outcome for their clients. This podcast is brought to you by Podcast City. If you'd like to know more information about starting your own podcast, from planning your podcast to recording, editing, filming and distributing your podcast to the world, simply go to podcastcity.com.au. I'm Ron Fiedler for the Adelaide Project Business Spotlight. Until we meet next time, bye for now.